Hi guys, and welcome back to Trekyards. He is Commander Cocky.
He is Captain Foley!
And we're here to talk about A Moral Star Part 2, or Episode 10 of Prodigy today. So, we'll start off with you, I guess. What did you think of this episode?
Damn it, he threw the curveball. As the episode does throw a curveball. I liked it better than last week. The ending really helps it come to life. Because the way they defeat the Diviner sort of makes the Diviner feel underwhelming in retrospect. I don't know if that was their intent, but it kind of weakened maybe the first chunk of the season for me a little bit as a villain goes. But the promise of the next part of the season excites me again. But I liked it overall. I'm interested to see now in retrospect when you kind of see what hints they've placed.
I enjoyed it. I didn't think the kids had much of a plan. There was not much going on as far as plan went, honestly. And I think they kind of lucked out on a bunch of things. But other than that, I thought it was good. Like you said, the ending really kind of brought it together. And was excited to see most of that ending. But we'll get into that in a minute. But yeah,
it's obviously full spoilers, guys. Obviously.
I'm really excited for the next part of the season. This really felt like a season finale, though. Like they were going to do 10 episodes.
Season 1 done.
Yeah, that's what it felt like for sure. We got a few answers. There is time travel and stuff. So yeah, I thought it was good. I got a nice mix of kind of everything we needed, and it definitely makes like part 1 and part 2 as a whole now just feel better. Like part 1 looks better. Anyway, yeah. So as a whole story, it's pretty good.
But I want to jump straight into the kids' plan thing, which I didn't even consider. Yeah, they had no plan, except Janeway being good, but they didn't know Gwen was going to be there. And to think that a hologram who's easily turned off is enough to be able to stop the Diviner. I mean, their only plan was, hopefully we can make the ship shoot back, which is in itself feels like a double cross the Diviner. And they would also assume that it would... Yeah, there wasn't a great twisty plan, was there?
The only plan they really had was putting the Protostar in Murph to screw the Diviner, but everything else they lucked out on. The translator being linked into the manacles was luck. The easiness of killing Dreadnought was beyond ridiculous and not even part of their plan. It didn't seem like there was much of a plan. Their plan was to get the people on the Rev 12, I guess, and that was it.
Although if the Diviner said, no, I won't give you my ship as this part of this trade, and they're like, okay.
Yeah. So there's really not much of a plan except for just keeping the Protostar in Murph and reprogramming Janeway. And each of those things are, sketchy at best. But they are kids, so that's fine. I just, with the montage and the lead up and to get this crazy plan to work line in the last episode, I figured there was more that they were planning, but I guess not. So, I don't know. That's just, I felt kind of lackluster to me.
We talked about how last week it felt like the whole episode was set up to this episode. This episode felt like, okay, we've had the cruise time together moments. Now we're going to kind of go full story by having, a full 6-minute, let's talk about the Diviner's backstory, a full several minute, let's fix the station, which isn't innately about the crew, it's about the station. So it was more about the action beats. But no, I was very surprised by, yes, they defeat Dreadnought pathetically, honestly. I mean, let's not pretend that a 7-year-old Cation can just, that the metal is not strong enough to deal with. I mean, that's silly. And
She's got adamantium claws. It's fine.
Well, hey, Wolver kid. I mean, Deadlock has laser beam arms. I don't know why he's not killing people. I don't know why there wasn't also... I mean, he beamed in with a... I'm here. And he's defeated within, 1 minute? Minute and a half? I mean, this is the big antagonist who literally in episode 1, latched onto a cliff, fired laser beams out of his arms to be a transformer, and now he's defeated by 8 guys with no weaponry. So yeah, really unsatisfying, but it did feel to me as if, right, we're done with the Diviner plot, gonna throw that away, throw it in the bin, crumple it up, throw it in the bin, as quick as we can get through it, but not a good way to, I mean, yes, he could come back, but I don't care now. And the Diviner himself, again, just really devalued in my opinion, and to leave him on, at least I assume they'll take him with him, but how horrific is that just to leave him on a moon with no ship, with no, maybe some food. I mean, maybe he has a few months of food, but no carers. He's going to die alone, starving to death on an asteroid moon. Well, that's a bit vicious for children. Or the prisoners. But I mean, is he not better to keep as a prisoner because he has knowledge of the future? No, we're just going to let him starve to death on a planet.
Nobody knew he had knowledge of the future because Gwen lost her memories, her recent memories of that whole spiel that he gave.
True.
Nobody else heard it. So, that being said, that's a good segue into the Diviner story because he said he's from the future. They show what his planet looks like currently in the current timeline. It's still alive and kicking before first contact. And honestly, I think this is a predestination paradox. He causes this to his planet because he's already gone back in time to get and enabled this weapon on the protostar. Then soon, Starfleet's going to make first contact. But if all the ships are already infected, this is one ship that's just out in the nether regions, makes first contact, never comes back to check on them, never comes back to finish, doesn't send the Cerritos for second contact, because they're all fighting each other. Is he responsible? And how did he get back in time? And there's still a whole whackload of questions that need to be answered. I don't think they're just going to leave the Diviner. It's going to come back.
Well, in fairness, they can proto-warp back to it at any moment. There is the absolute get-out-of-jail-free card, which is pretty useful, unlike any other show where, no, he's 8 months away. No, he's not. He didn't starve to death yet. I somewhat agree with that, although Endgame is not predestination because they change it. It's a one and done. So because we see them in alternate uniforms, alternate combat, we know it's not predestination because we know Picard happens instead. So we know alternate universe, that's fine. Things will change, that's okay. But yeah, how things are going to squiggly, whatever. I mean, I liked all that stuff in theory, but we predicted it, so it felt like we told us what we knew. But for other people who don't analyze it as much as we do, it would be more of a reveal, because obviously from the future, 50 years from 25 years ago makes sense, about 10 years, 15 years from the present makes sense. That was all very logical and very natural. It explains the Protostars tech, it explains everything makes sense. But we kind of all guessed all that a long time ago. So it wasn't so much a big reveal.
There's no answer that the Protostar was his way that he went back in time.
Well, it was, because they put the weapon on the ship. The ship is from the future too, because it has future Chakotay. And he knew the Protostar existed to then go back into the present. He couldn't get to Starfleet. That's the point, he can't get to the Alpha Quadrant without the Protostar, because he came with a Protostar, because that's how he got places. Yeah, they're all from the same point. That's the whole point. I
disagree. That's not how I saw it.
Really?
Because he's from the future. At the end, Janeway says, "I'm coming to find you, Chakotay," which means she's captain at that point. He just went missing.
Well, Admiral. She's wearing Admiral bars, but yeah.
It sounded to me like he went back in time 50 years, found the Protostar as a way to disable the Federation, took it over, got Chakotay off the ship, used the weapon, installed it. His plan was to use it. Somehow, maybe Chakotay tried to retake the ship, got the ship from the Diviner, and the Diviner spent all this time looking for it. So there's no clear indication that Protostar is from the future. And if you look at the registry number of the Dauntless, it's way higher than the Protostars, which means that the Protostar probably isn't from the future.
But then how is Chakotay a captain in TNG Season 1 wearing a future uniform with grey hair?
Because it's not Season 1. He was looking for it 17 years ago during TNG Season 1.
But they have... But Chakotay was the captain of the Protostar, so he was the captain when it crashed 20 years ago.
Not necessarily. The Diviner could have got it in the modern time and through an accident using the Protostar trying to get to the Federation or something, went back in time, crashed, lost the ship. Chakotay was offloaded earlier before any of that happened. I don't buy for a second that he used the Protostar to get back in time. That's just dumb. How would he even know that was possible? Or I think it was an accident.
Yeah, it was an accident. Or he generated a thing. I mean, we know there was an anomaly they went into, some sort of thing. That's what the end message was when Dreadnought came on the ship. But then if you think he took the ship from today, then... So he hasn't been mining for the ship for 20 years. Because if he's mining for the ship for 20 years, and he was in the Delta Quadrant 20 years ago looking for the ship. Yeah, but the ship wasn't built 20 years ago.
He didn't say... Okay, he said he was from the future and sent back in time. He didn't say when he was sent back in time to. So he didn't also say how far in the future he was.
Well, he said 50 years from...
No, he said in 50 years back. In 50 years from now, this is how the planet's going to look. So, yes, around 50 years or after the destruction of his planet, he might not have been on world and found a way to get back in time to stop it. Went back too far, or back to here, got the Protostar, tried to go back to save his people, but time travel shenanigans. I never once got the indication he used the Protostar to go back in time. So I totally disagree with you there.
No, I would... and I don't think he's literally to go back in time. I would assume more it was just very much like 09. I think they're definitely pulling from that in the future. So 15 years from now. So that's okay. You vaguely convinced me slightly with the end bit, but I'll say my version. So 15 years from now, Protostar is being launched, doing its thing. Diviner then pissed about the planet being wrecked only a couple of years ago in his big bad ship, kind of like the Narada. Then finds Starfleet in the Alpha Quadrant, then attacks Protostar, whatever, but manages to capture it to then add some subroutines in. But Chakotay managed to take it back, and then through the battle shenanigans, it gets sent back in time. He follows it because he knows that's the only way I can trick ships to whatever. They're both stuck in the past. Chakotay manages to trap it in a planet before he dies, whatever, and then he has to spend 20 years finding it, and now that's his way back to the Alpha Quadrant. I'll explain why he's so far away, because he's an Alpha Quadrant race, but Chakotay thought, well, Delta Quadrant, I know somewhere to hide. Delta Quadrant, and he went through with him. Because maybe just the Pro Drive's just, warp fieldness went timey, and then they both phased through, kind of like the Spore Drive also went through time accidentally because of a thing that happened. It could do that now, apparently. So that's what I took from it.
Now, you said 15 years in the future. Did you mean 50 or 15?
No, because he went back 25 years, and so 50 years from when he stopped.
But we don't know where he went back to get the Protostar initially, and then he could have lost it, and as a result, it's been sent back further in time, and then looked for the ship.
But it's weird because he had to have the Protostar, but also Chakotay had the Protostar, but also it was launched by Starfleet, Baz experimental ship, but also there is a Janeway who's wearing a future universe combat, so we know she's an alternate future Janeway from a different part of the timeline, just like Chakotay was, because that's the whole point of the future com badge. Full ride review will be great, guys. We have to go through this again.
Yeah, you're gonna have to lay that out for me because that doesn't make any sense to me.
But they are using the future com badge to do it, which says they're from an alternate timeline. That's the whole point of the com badge.
Well, the fact they have a goddamn Dauntless also annoys the shit out of me because
so Stuart,
they don't.
Dauntless, whee! So Stuart, at the end though, we'll talk about that briefly though. Obviously, we get the future com badge, new uniform, Janeway, Captain Emerald reveal, and
it's all great.
The Dauntless, sort of.
And that's where I lost it. I absolutely hate that design, as anyone knows. It is an ugly, ugly starship. And what the hell? The Dauntless never existed. It was in Voyager, sure, but it was Artemis. He created this ship, which was never from the Federation.
Arcturus.
Why would they ever use that design? Arcturus, sorry. Why would they ever use that design?
Well, in fairness, it's quite a different version of the ship. It's been modified heavily, so it's called the same. It's a different registry, and the design's very different. And we all, of course, do a comparison on the ship, guys. Yes, certainly an intriguing end. And it feels as if this has become a habit. I'm very, very thankful. We had the end of, Picard, Jen Hay and the fleet arrive, save the day. End of Discovery, Enterprise arrives and save the... Well, they're actually damaged, so they didn't save the day, but they were there. Lower Decks, Lower Decks, Titan shows up, saves the day, and now Dauntless sort of shows up and maybe vaguely saves the day, but only at Warp Stewart, not at Slipstream. Another note, because they didn't have Slipstream, which is weird. So back to the main story, because that's all the extra stuff. So what do you think of how they actually took the Protostar back and how it was all resolved and how that stuff is left off?
That was good. I hate this. I hate the trope of we can only beam one of you at a time. It happens all the time. Going not getting the shields down, I kind of understand with the situation. Shooting at the shields to get through, that's cool. Even though when they shot the ship, it must not have been a very strong beam because in the holodeck the ship didn't rock or anything. They didn't know they were getting fired at.
That was a bad edit. We assume that was beforehand. They just weren't playing it in real time.
It had to be somewhere in there that happened because that's where...
Oh, there should have been a separate rumble. Yeah, for sure. There should have been a separate rumble, but it seems unlikely.
Could have been when the planet was doing its through time.
Happenstance, the subtlety. Because, the Diviner had to have this big long spiel about his planet, and if Dial beamed in, he went straight to the... You know what I mean? It would take him 2 or 3 minutes, but there's clearly a 10-minute chat of look, daughter! So I think that was slightly out of time.
So that kind of bothered me a bit, but still, as part of a plan, that's a good idea. I just hate the trope of, only be one of us over at a time thing.
Well, I don't know about you, but also didn't feel like it added anything, because, Zero was there 30 seconds later, and also got in, but not through the main door. So I guess he beamed right into the holodeck, which I didn't know. I guess? That didn't seem... beam both at the same time, and this plan would have been no different. I don't know why that was a needed thing. And why would the shields be down quick long enough to beam one person over? They're either down or not down. Why don't I just disable the shields fully? Why just damage them enough to shift them to beam one person over?
Well, they don't want to destroy the ship. There's a whole conversation of, we don't want to fire on the protostar.
I know, but you just keep shooting on the shield emitter and it'll disable the shield. It won't destroy the whole ship. It won't. So just keep firing until you disable the shields fully.
It'll destroy your shield emitters. So if you do get the ship back and you need the shields, you're going to be screwed.
I mean, they've got the Rev 12 right there with all of its guns and the protostars right there, and I'm sure they can fix it. I mean, it's also important they go to proto warp or they don't damage their own ship. I mean, they worked out a good medium, I guess, but yeah.
The Zero reveal, Zero like turning him mad, I thought was interesting. I like that.
How long ago did I call that?
Seeing how Medusan, looks, yeah.
Because I think I said that last week, because it would be so easy if just beamed aboard and did it, but it's a bit vicious for him. So, oh no, he did it.
The other thing I like, too, is Rock's character development of, like, do this, this, and this. And Jacob's like, oh, you know more than me now, so okay, yeah, go ahead. That was great. So not just a little kid, still a little kid, but, very smart and more of the engineer now, which was a nice touch.
Yeah, because not every engineer knows all of science. Not all science knows engineers. So that was how do we science this problem rather than how do we fix it? Because you had to invent a new thing. And I also called Protostar be used to power it as well. Although then the Protostar then disappeared, yet they still had full power, even more power in fact, because they were flying and weapons. So I guess they fully charged the ship before they beamed away the power source that they now had.
No idea where you're going with that, because they even have a line of using surface energy of the protostar to jump start the ship. That's it.
Yeah, but they destroyed the warp core emitter, so there was no more power being generated, so they can jump start it fine, but there's nothing else fueling it at that point.
She rerouted circuits and plasma things.
Well, it is a future ship, probably, maybe, so it's got advancedness.
That's the thing. Yeah, I think the Rev 12 was used to come back in time somehow. That was never explained, and that bothers me quite a bit. But... And
now just the prisoners have it, just flying off. I did like the made me chuckle when they actually had the Universal Translator moment, and two people like, "Oh, I love you." Basically, it's like, "Oh, this is cute. Wow, what a moment for alien love. I've not been able to communicate with you for years, but I do love you." It's like, "Jeff, I love you too." It's like, "What? My name's Jeff." That was cute. Although we didn't see any Delta Quadrant races. Just kind of sad. We could have seen Herodian or Vidian or anything. We just saw. I mean, they good new alien designs, but they're not going to be memorable after today. I just kind of surprised I didn't see any. Since they've designed new alien races, would have been nice. Therefore new 3D models would have been nice to have. But small thing, I don't mind. They weren't that focused on because they were just there to then take out Dreadlock and then that's it.
Yeah, but the Diviner being left there was an interesting twist. The fact he doesn't have his back to tank, or whatever you want to call it, is going to be a bad thing. I mean, even the fight he had with Janeway, with the Janeway upgrades, she's actually a hard light hologram now. Or
I knew Kung Fu.
But she like rips one of the tubes off, and he's like quite a bit in pain, and then all of a sudden he's fine again. It's like, oh, okay, well, great. But no stakes there. Good job.
Yeah, that was a weird. They really desperately wanted to have the Diviner be all in powerful at the end of episode 1 and then completely remove all his power in episode 2 and then have him be weak and helpless so he'd tell her the storyline, but make him powerful again to defeat Dahl and make him be weak again. It's like, okay, it just totally damages the character's ability because yeah, I was like, oh my god, like Janeway ripped his life support system. She doesn't know his systems. That Janeway should have killed him. I thought that was now going to kill him and I was like, damn Janeway, that's pretty terrible for a hologram to do for, But then he's fine. Completely, I mean, it'd be hard to argue the holodeck kept him okay. It's a bit of a stretch. It'd be fine if you just saw him, patch himself up, but at that point he should be back to full strength, in essence. So that wasn't paced well either.
I thought I actually missed something. I thought he might have reattached the tube or something, but...
He did, I guess, off screen, because he weren't dying anymore. There wasn't even a sense of a fake out, like, oh no, I'm so ill, come here so I can strangle you.
And even at the end, when he's left on the mining colony, he doesn't have any of that, his tubes or anything. He's just like, no shirt, muttering to himself, drawing in the sand. But he says something like, 13, I'm here, and but it's like he's trying to figure some kind of calculation. I'm sure he'll be back at some point.
I mean, yeah, but I'm not engaged anymore.
No.
Honestly. And even the Rev 12 gone now. I mean, they really just... I mean, it does feel like a very deliberate part 1 of 4. This, and in fact, I agree. This really should have been season 1. because it feels like they're done a full season arc and reset. Because now we're going to the Federation, bad things are going to happen. We've got another Janeway coming to get us as well. So there's now another full story, but we've definitely pushed away all of the old story beats, it feels like. But I didn't mind the reset. I was actually wondering, how are we going to have anything in the present, in the future of the show in Starfleet? But wiping her memory was a reasonably smart touch. A little bit easy, and I was a little bit like, yeah, whatever. But it makes sense to kind of reset stuff. Although given they can literally just proto-warp to Earth. Well, I guess 4,000 light years at a time, but they can get to Earth, literally Earth. I don't know how it's going to be layers of this next season, because once that, I didn't even think the plan was very smart. Divina said about, make the ships shoot each other. It's like Starfleet's smart enough to work out it's a computer virus, and it's not massive civil war. It's just this ship caused this race, this ship to be bad. And do you not think the ship inside the crew inside the ship could also fix the ship to have it not kill people? Like, it's great if you warp in or pro-warp into the fleet of ships, but it's not going to work 2 or 3 times, and Starfleet's certainly not going to civil war. So I thought it was
it's not like the ship's going to just enter the Earth, just show up at Earth and infect like space dock and everything, and it's probably going to run into other ships first. And I don't know how fast this virus will spread to other starships, but still.
But it doesn't infect the crews. The crews will stop it. The crews can turn the warp core off. I mean, this isn't, the battle side.
Maybe it does affect the crews. We don't know.
Sure, because in Battlestar Galactica, that was the big Cylon attack. They do a virus that turns off all of the weapons and ostensibly shields of all the forces, but it only works out when it's first used. Turn everyone off, do a full attack. But it's not a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 use weapon. As soon as they found out what it was, they could block against it. It's just a virus. So I thought, very odd plan, non-effective plan. I mean, there's more layers to it, but...
Ooh, maybe they used the protostar to send all the ships to the mirror universe or something.
I don't know. It is a yeah, he was definitely hurt as a character. I thought I was waiting for these more epic things. Oh, the planetscape looked lovely, but definitely didn't do him justice.
Well, that end scene with the Trill, and this is found another proto jump. This is the 3rd one now, so they've been tracking it. I think that's cool. I want to learn more about that for sure.
Well, and it's great because that is Chakotay's crew. That Chakotay's crew. That is the Tellarite, Andorian, and Trill. That is Commander Tyses, Ensign Assyria, and Dr. Norm. So that is Chakotay. Janeway has Chakotay's crew.
Okay, I was wondering. That's cool.
So that is the 3 that we know are coming. Didn't get any lines, but that's okay.
Oh, on that note,
yes,
we're gonna call it there.
Lots to talk about. Check out the full scene by scene discussion at the top. We'll talk about all the time travel stuff, I'm sure, and all the sub videos about the ship, the interior, the uniforms. We've been given lots of, like, those last 5 seconds just threw Trekyards stuff. They just threw us stuff. Oh yes, Trekyards, yes. And we'll see what things of Daedalus, USS Daedalus.
Hit the like button, guys. Subscribe to the channel. Comment down below what you thought about this episode. And just let us know your thoughts. Join us for the live later today with the full breakdown and discussion. And any other lives that we do. Because we do a lot of discussions and hangouts. So if you can, please join us.
And of course, support on Patreon, PayPal, join the channel on YouTube. And those monthly ways are fantastic. All super chatting during the lives are great. Any amount helps. Mounts up. And we love that direct communication on those lives because it can often give us a whole new lease of communication and discussion and theorization. So thanks in advance, and we'll see you then.
That's right. So until next time, he's Commander Cockings.
He's Captain Foley. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.